Hey guys, EDDBUD here and welcome back to the channel. Today a long run shoe test for you of the Adidas Solar Boost 3. Thanks for joining me today guys. If this is your first time here, please do think about hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell also for notifications when I launch those new videos. This is the place if you enjoy running shoes, if you're a running shoe fancier, I suppose. It also helps the channel out too if you give this video a thumbs up like with the YouTube algorithm and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's get to it. So a slightly shorter long run test for me today. Got to be honest, I'm still not 100% I suppose after having my first COVID jab last week. It certainly was some warm but very windy conditions out there. 14 degrees centigrade, which is about 57 Fahrenheit I think, but with some 17-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, what's going on? It just made it really tough out there because you're really hot, the wind's kind of swirling around, it seemed to be changing direction no matter which way I turned, and the gusts at one point were coming from the side and kind of blowing me sideways. There's not much to me really, I'm just like a human windsock whenever I put on a running vest. So 10 miles today or 16.1 kilometers in the Solar Boost 3. Did reduce the mileage a little bit down this week. I think I hit 50 last couple of weeks. I was just below 40 this week. So still good to get some miles in, but certainly keeping in mind that I'm not 100%. Legs are just feeling a little bit heavier than they normally would, and I'm sleeping a lot more as well, so I think the body's doing what it's got to do. It's having that right reaction. So close to 40 miles this week, 64 kilometers. Like I say, about 10 miles less probably than I've done over the last few weeks at least. Still reasonable though. I think 10 miles is keeping it to about 25% of the weekly mileage. So I think that kind of constitutes a long run. I'm not sure there's any specific rules or regulations you've got to hit for a long run. I think it felt long enough to me, so yeah, I put in a decent effort. 7 minutes 49 seconds per mile average today, though I did crank up the pace a little bit in the second half of the run, throwing in some faster miles at tempo and threshold effort. Gotta be honest, I did stop a few times on today's run. I was really warm at one point, taking on some liquids, a few drink stops. I do urge you to listen to your body. Certainly over here in the UK it is starting to get warmer. If you're going on those longer runs, do make sure you take some sustenance with you. I'm not talking about a Mars bar or something, you know, take some liquids with you. You do need them, you don't notice when you're losing them. I have to say I do find it a lot harder running in very warm weather. I mean, it wasn't very warm yesterday, it was just mild I suppose, but the wind kind of made the effort level raised way beyond what it should have been. So how did the Solar Boost 3 perform? I had high hopes for this as a long run shoe and yeah, it kind of ticked some of the boxes. Upper-wise, I opted for some thicker socks today with the Solar Boost 3, mainly because in my mind I had that it was quite a voluminous shoe. I don't know why, because it really wasn't. I loosened the laces off a little bit, and it felt really comfortable to begin with, but after about 3-4 miles, yeah, I regretted my decision of those thicker socks. Should have opted for a thinner pair, and yeah, should have consulted the notes beforehand. This Adidas shoe's a little more roomy than some of the other offerings they've had out, but of course over time the foot begins to swell, so a bit of a schoolboy error there. I gotta say, the laces really perplex me in this shoe. They are very short. I don't know whether they just throw any old laces into these shoes in the factory, but these come up really short. If you're going to try and tie a runner's knot, I could just about get the knot done. You're out of luck if you try and do a double knot. It's just such a real error for an arbitrary bit of the shoe that's really simple to get right. I have to say, no major issues in the upper. If you're after a very comfortable shoe to rack up some miles, then certainly the Solar Boost 3 ticks that box. I mean, the heel collar itself, it's that neoprene type material with a split heel collar here as well. So maybe if you get some ankle issues there, this one could be the shoe for you. This might put the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit, but I do find that this shoe is a little more conforming in terms of the upper than the Boston 9 was for me. That one was very voluminous and I ended up having to cinch the laces in. It makes the shoe look a little bit odd, I suppose, in the toe box area. It kind of pulls it all together and bunches it together. Nothing like that on this shoe though. The upper seems to be cut from a different cloth. That aside though, it's no Adi Zero Pro or Adios Pro. That upper on those shoes is just sublime. Midsole wise, certainly a nice smooth feel today. The transition in your stride just feels really smooth in the Solar Boost 3. It rolls, it just feels very controlled. Though, I've got to say, I find this is a shoe where the more juice you put in, the more you get out. Not quite what I'm looking for in a long run shoe really. Well, I just want some sort of high level of comfort some nice reasonable cushioning, whereas this shoe just feels better when I run faster in it, I've got to be honest. I think it's something to do with the bulk. I mean, this is a 370 gram shoe, so when you consider I ran in that Liberate Nitro, which is, I think, about 223 grams, there's quite a difference. I think those seeking a more maximally cushioned shoe will probably want to look elsewhere. This just is kind of overbuilt, I suppose. It doesn't really hit the target for me for a long run shoe. More a steady pace deliverer. Although I can imagine if you ran in this shoe on a daily basis, you get strong pretty quick. As such, it doesn't really hit it for those easy tempos for me. Doesn't really hit the mark as a long run shoe. I think most people will run their longer efforts at a much more sustainable pace, you know, that endurance sort of type level, which is not really what I ran today. It just didn't feel like I wanted to run like that in this shoe. It feels like I want to put more kind of drive into it, and that made it a much more fun and exciting experience. So maybe a more daily shoe perhaps, but again, at 370 grams, there's loads and loads of lighter options out there, and that are cheaper as well, that won't lighten your wallet quite so much. I mean, the Pegasus 83 or 38 are actually quite attractive options for that. Outsole wise, the slightly thinner rubber webbing here is certainly a welcome addition. Some of the other manufacturers at the moment just seem to throw masses of rubber on there, loads of lugs and everything, and it just weighs the shoe down. I think they're probably increasing the depth of the rubber to try and improve the durability of their shoes. But we know that Continental has some serious longevity and durability, so I think you can get away with a slightly thinner slither. I think we've seen similar things on the Adidas 4 and now here on the Solar Boost 3. I get that same outsole feel really from the Adidas 4 on this shoe today. I think it worked out superbly today. It's probably the strongest point of the shoe, in fact. I have to consider the grassy and muddy areas today, which have been awash with water only a few hours before, certainly rather wet from the precipitation. I've been lashing down pretty much all night, so yeah, the Solar Boost 3 handled it really well. One major issue though here is there's so many sort of little pieces that are cut out that you just get loads of debris stuck in there. There's stones and seeds and all sorts there. It's going to take quite a bit of washing to get rid of all of it. So overall, a slightly lackluster performance from the Solar Boost 3 today on the longer run. Heavy legs coupled with a heavier shoe really didn't make the best combo today, until I suppose I did turn up the pace a little bit with some drum and bass from Dillinger. One track in particular, which I haven't actually been able to locate again on my playlist, yeah, it made me run way too quick. I'll keep searching for it, see if I can find it. An odd shoe thus far. Feels better when you turn up the pace, but nowhere near as inspiring at the easier paces. A little like I suppose the Tempo Next Percent felt for me. All I wanted to do was run very fast in that shoe. Really didn't feel that comfortable to me at those more easy kind of endurance paces. A puzzle, a mystery, a strange one this. I shall keep trying to figure out the secrets that lie within the Solar Boost 3. Rare for Adidas to get a few of the design nods wrong here though. I mean, with those laces, what were they thinking? So as a long run shoe, it's not for me. Have you been utilising the Solar Boost 3? Have you found that it feels actually somewhat better at faster paces? Let me know down in the comments. A quick musical interlude for you. Released in 1970, Nick Drake's Brighter Later, I think, is probably the pinnacle of his musical and songwriting career. I absolutely love the track at the chime of the city clock. It's got this subtlety and mystique about it that sadly is lacking from music these days. There's a really intense feeling there, an atmosphere. There's slight tension, I think, which comes from the guitar parts, and then that's kind of released when the chorus comes around. And it reminds me of a late afternoon or perhaps early evening in the city. Perhaps if you're staying in a hotel or something, looking out upon the city and the sun's starting to go down. There's some wonderful instrumental pieces as well on this album. They kind of bookend the different bits of it, the intro, the middle section, and then the later outro. One of Nick Drake's very best tracks, Northern Sky, is also on this album. Some beautiful production on this one, lots of very carefully chosen instruments that really back up and support the melody. So if you've never heard Nick Drake before, I do urge you to go and check it out. One of the true masters. Okay, thanks for tuning in today guys, and sticking with me to the very end. I do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when we launch those new videos. And also it really helps the channel out if you give this video a thumbs up like and share this video with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you